Get rid of that.
Cheers.
Water. All right, what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about the process of home buying, what that looks like, and what the steps are from the lending side and from the realtor side.
Life cycle of the process.
That's the
They
perfect way to put it.
Fancy it up.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of people, they always think about buying a house and just don't know how it works, how does it start, or what the process
We got
looks
a
like.
question from a couple we're helping now.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So what is the first step?
First step, what are we drinking? What are we smoking?
That's right. How can I forget that? So what are we drinking? What are we smoking? So we're drinking Four Roses single barrel, and the recipe is OESK. So I had to look at the bottle for that.
Cheap.
First time trying it. It's amazing. I love it. I think it's
really good.
Yeah, it's really, really smooth. So, and what are we pairing it with?
Perdomo, sun-grown, bourbon barrel aged, Habano.
Great cigar.
The cigar is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's going very well with that. Actually, let me give it a shot, but it's going pretty good.
Burning evenly.
Yeah. You set it down for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, it was still on.
Yeah,
you know?
so this is great stick. So
Really, really good.
that's what we're drinking. That's what we're smoking.
Let's get into it.
Now what's the first step in buying a house?
Yeah, exactly. So like Tracy was saying, is obviously getting pre-approved. I have people sometimes that want to get straight into looking at houses, and before I run my credit, I want to look at a couple and get a feel. Well, that's not the right thing to do because you don't know what your buying power is, right?
Right.
Or like I tell my clients, sometimes you don't want to look at something and then get disappointed when when
it's $550,000, you can only afford $400,000.
Yeah, exactly.
By your pre-approval.
Or on the opposite side, maybe you think you can only get approved for $500,000, but you can actually qualify for $700,000. So now we can look at a broader scale of homes, which is nice as well. So anyway,
the pool is doable. Right?
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly. So anyways,
first step, pre-approval with the lender.
Yeah, how does that look like?
The way we do it is we're going to collect all your documents. So we're pay stubs, tax returns if you're self-employed, W-2s if you're a W-2 employee, bank statements to tell where the money's coming from for your down payment.
Yeah.
Generally reserves, you're going to have a couple of months of that new mortgage payment in reserves after closing, because we're not going to take every penny you have in the bank to buy a house. So we're going to go through all of that and then determine what you're approved for.
Yeah.
Generally, people are going to have an idea of what they want to be approved for. Say, I want to, spend about $500,000. We'll make sure that we can approve them for that. And we'll tell them, say, hey, you actually have room in there if you want to go a little higher.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, most people, well, you wouldn't be, but a lot of people would be surprised that they're like, oh, all of a sudden at 500 they find something 575 and they really just love it. It's got the kitchen cabinet they want or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll go ahead and they know they can get it.
Yeah.
So step 1, pre-approval with the lender.
Yep.
Step 2.
So before we go to step 2, what are the major things you need to get them pre-approved from them? What are you looking for?
Oh, we're going to look for debt to income.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you make a month, we can use, depending on the loan program, anywhere from 43 to 56% of that to cover all of your liabilities or all your debts, credit cards, student loans, car payments, plus the new mortgage. And if the property has an HOA, we have to factor that in too.
Okay.
So let's just do easy math, 50% of that. Say you make $6,000 a month. We can use $3,000 to cover all of your payments every month. Not cable TV or any of that stuff.
And what would be the average credit? You would say
you'd want to have
perfect.
Probably a 640 or higher.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll open up a lot more programs for you.
Now, obviously, you can qualify people that are less than 640, right?
Yep.
But more programs mean better interest rate, better option for you when you go to purchase.
Once you go down to a 580, the only option you have is FHA.
Yeah. Okay.
But that'll still allow 3.5% down.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
But we can actually do an FHA down to a 500 credit score, but now you're mandatory 10% down.
Okay. Good.
But that's literally the only option we got for that, right?
Yeah. So typically when my clients ask me, what are you going to need in advance? I always tell them, obviously credit is a factor. How much money you have in the bank is another factor. They're going to look at bank statements, and they're also going to need your pay stubs from your work. Minimum, they want to see at least 2 years, correct?
No, pay stubs 30 days.
No.
W-2s 2 years.
Yeah, so W-2s 2 years, but what I'm saying is work history at the same job.
Yeah, it depends if they're a mechanic. at Chrysler and they go be a mechanic at Mercedes, we can count that.
So as long as it's the same line of work, then you're good.
If you're a mechanic and you go start a roofing company, then you're going to need 2 full years in the roofing company.
And that goes for any business. If you open a new business, 2 years.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. What about, again, because maybe I don't know in case somebody has a question. So let's say somebody has been a mechanic for 10 years, but finally decided to open up their own business. It's the same line of work, but now they're starting a brand new business.
Sometimes you can get away with a year of that. Just because now ideally they bought a business that's already been in business or something, but that's still tricky. Generally it's going to be 2 years, but maybe able to pull off 1. It'll depend on what kind of loan we're trying to do.
Yeah. It's like a per case situation.
Case by case.
And I'm just being a devil's advocate here because again, I know a lot of people are going to have these questions. So
these things come up more than you would think.
Exactly. Okay, so it seems like it's fairly easy. And when I send somebody over to you, how long would it take for me to get a pre-approval so we can, let's say we already found a house that we like?
Sometimes I can do it same day if you send it to me in the morning, depending on what I'm already stuck in on that day. Sometimes I can do it same day, but I usually tell people, give me 24 hours, I can get you something back.
Okay, cool.
But of course I'm trying to do it pretty quick. If it's a clean file, like I got 100 grand in the bank, they're putting down 50 grand. They've been at the same job for 10 years. They're a W-2 employee and they send me their pay stubs and all that stuff. Probably a couple hours. I could have that figured out. Not even if that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, of course.
They get it to me right away. I'll have it right with them.
Okay, cool. So more of the story is make sure you guys move quick and send him what he needs.
We'll move
The
fast.
faster you move, the faster he can move, and the faster we can put an offer on your dream home and we don't lose it. So now on my end, how kind of the life cycle looks, which is step 2, right? So now we got a pre-approval. Now we can go look and we can take a look at properties and we can make a solid offer. Because here's the thing, if we don't have a pre-approval, we can't make an offer on that property that you love. So it's very, very important that that's the first step you always take. And then from there, we start looking at properties. I'm going to set you up on a search with your criteria. So you tell me how many bedrooms, how many baths, do you want a pool, how big do you want the lot, the age of the major components, is it important for you, the age of the roof, the age of the AC, all that stuff.
Area.
Yeah, the area as well. Do you want to be in certain schools, certain zip codes? Right. So we take all of that into factor and then I set up a search for you, start sending it directly to your email, and you pretty much start telling me which ones you like. From there we go look at the property. Once we find exactly what you love, the next step is to submit an offer. We write up an offer alongside with Tracy's pre-approval, because without that, we can't submit it. Let's say that it gets us accepted in a perfect world, right? Yeah. Sometimes there's a little bit of negotiating back and forth, but that's normal. Because everything's negotiable at the end of the day when it comes to an offer. We can negotiate closing costs with the seller if possible, negotiate the price, negotiate everything, like I said. So let's say everything goes well and we go under contract. There's 5 important dates that we need to adhere to. Once we go under contract, which means the seller and the buyer signed it, that's a fully executed contract. Time is of the essence. We got to start moving. So within the first important date is your escrow period, which is 3 days, your escrow deposit. Typically, your escrow deposit is 1% of the purchase price. It can be more if you want to make your offer more desirable. Again, we can play with it to make it look better. If it's a really nice house and we got competition, there's things we can do within the contract itself to make it look more attractive.
Roughly, that's every $100,000 in house they're buying. If it's 1%, it's $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a $500,000 house, then I recommend doing at least $5,000 in escrow as an escrow deposit. And obviously that's part of your down payment. So if you have to bring $95,000 to closing, then you only
need $90,000.
Exactly. And I'm just throwing numbers out there. Obviously, if it's 3.5%, it's a lot less than that. Right. So that's the first important date. The second one is your inspection period. So within that inspection period, that can run anywhere from 7 to 10 days or even 15 days. Again, it's all what we decide on. Exactly. So let's say for these purposes, 7 days. So from the day we sign the contract, we got 7 days to do our inspections and to request any repairs or any adjustments we want to the property. Typically, I tell my clients that focus only on the major items, major components like your AC, your roof, your electrical, your plumbing. If there's something big there, we request that the seller, fix it or replace it, whatever, or credit you. They can either fix it, replace it, or give you a credit at closing so you can do it yourself afterwards. And you want to have those negotiations or discussions within your inspection period and have an agreement between both parties before the inspection period ends so we can sign an addendum and move forward. So that's your second important day, your inspection period. Your third one, you're going to have your appraisal period where the bank, Tracy's bank, will do an appraisal on the property to make sure that the property is worth what we're under contract. for?
Generally, I'll wait until the inspection is done.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's negotiations needed, those are done before we order the appraisal, just because the appraisal costs money.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not refundable. It's a service.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do an appraisal and the roof is bad and the seller's like, I'm not fixing it, and you're not fixing it,
Yeah.
we just spent the money on the appraisal for no reason.
Yeah.
So we obviously wait until that's done, which will come into play as we get into our next.
Let's say you got two scenarios when you do the appraisal. One, it meets appraised value, we move forward. Second, if it appraises for lower than what we're under contract for, the bank is not going to finance a home for lower than what it's worth, right? So at that point, we need to go back to the negotiating table with the seller to either come down to the appraised value or come up with some type of agreement between the buyer and the seller. If for some reason you can't come to terms, then you can back out of the contract and get your escrow deposit back. So that was the third important date. The fourth one is your financing contingency, which typically is 30 days. What that means is that within those 30 days of going under contract, if for some reason financing falls through on the lending side, then we can back out and get your money back. And I want to be clear, you have to get a clear to close within that financing period in order to meet that contingency. It's not a conditional approval.
Which is up front.
Exactly. If you have a conditional approval, you meet the financing period. No, you don't. You need to have a full clear to close within those first 30 days in order to meet that contingency.
Right.
My recommendation always is, if you can't meet it in those 30 days, get a financing contingency period extension, an extra 5 or 10 days, whatever your lender recommends, to make sure you're protecting your escrow deposit.
Right.
And then the fifth important date, the most important one out of all of them, I think, is your closing date, where you get the keys and you get to walk into your, beautiful new home. But here's the great thing about all of this is that Tracy and I are in this business to build relationships, not just for a deal. So our journey with our clients go way beyond, the closing table.
Yeah.
We're here for whatever you guys need. Any questions, concerns after the fact. For example, afterwards, they're going to be getting a whole bunch of spam mail saying, hey, if you want a copy of your deed, it's $99. Do not do that, because you're going to get a copy anyways. Exactly. You get it from the title company for free. So all these fraudulent mail saying for $99, and it looks legit. When you look at it, like it looks like it's concerning.
The name of your lender on it.
Oh yeah, man.
But it's just stating that that's your lender, but they make it seem like it's from your lender.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do a good job at it. That's all they do all day.
Yeah, it looks very convincing. Yeah. Don't get fooled by it. You get a free copy from the title company. Do not, so again, afterwards, if you get stuff in the mail that you don't understand or you don't know what it is, you can definitely reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to clear it up for you.
We do exactly. One thing is I can say on the lending side, through the process, once you are under contract, we're going to have that conditional approval after the appraisal and all that stuff. That's when we're going to ask for all the documents that the underwriter needs to finalize your loan. And the slower you send those, slower everything moves. Bigger risk you run into that 30-day or whatever financing contingency you have.
Mm-hmm.
So when we send it, you're going to get that email of what we need.
Yeah.
If you turn it right around and send it back, we can have you clear to close a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
We can do all of our work while the appraisal is being done, while the process is going on, and be ready early. Even if you can't close early, it's better to be ready early.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you never know. Sometimes we love it when the deal closes early.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I said in the beginning that once you go under contract, time is of the essence. Urgency is number one. Getting, Tracy everything that he needs to make sure your loan goes smoothly, and then we don't have any hiccups on our end either, because again, you have an escrow deposit that can potentially be at risk if you're not adhering to all of these dates. And all of these things are in the contract to protect your escrow deposit, all these contingencies, right? Yeah. So as long as you're adhering to those timeframes, you're protected no matter what. So just make sure that you're staying on top of that. Obviously,
a good agent will help with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good lender too, right?
Sometimes, Yes, sir. Yes.
Full disclosure, buying a home is stressful.
Oh man, I'm going to ask for everything you've done since you were 15. It feels like you don't really, but
absolutely.
I mean, it seems like we take your whole life, but
it's stressful because in the midst of Tracy asking you for all these things, we're trying to schedule an inspection. We're trying to negotiate with the seller if something comes up during the inspection. We're waiting on the appraisal to make sure that it appraises. By the way, typically in advance, I'm going to do comparables as well to make sure that this house is worth that. So we're not overpaying. I'm trying to avoid issues that down the road.
It happens.
Absolutely. But if I see that a house is way overvalued, I'm going to advise my client, hey, we should probably offer this, not what they're asking, because we're going to have issues down the road. You're going to lose your money in your appraisal and your inspection, if it doesn't appraise and they don't want to play ball, right? There's plenty of houses out there, houses that come out on the market all the time. So the last thing you want to do is overpay for something that's not worth it. So that's the life cycle of a real estate purchase there, folks. So if you have any questions, any concerns, please leave a comment, shoot us a text, email, whatever. Happy to help, absolutely. Other than that, cheers.
See you out there.
See you on the next one.